Dan, you've talked about this before. The likelihood that withdrawing from this accord with Iran and the allies would push allies closer towards the likes of Russia and Iran itself. Is that what's happening in your mind, Dan?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily going to force a closer alliance between Europe and Russia. What it is doing is it's at least bolstering the argument for anti-blocking measures, which are going through the Duma in Russia and were reenacted in Europe last Friday. I mean, what we're certainly seeing, though, is businesses are leaving the market in droves for fear of U.S. retaliation on the regulatory front.
So are U.S. tariffs de facto global tariffs? If that's actually what we're seeing, Dan, is there anything the Europeans can do to stop that?
I don't think there is. I think the challenge now is you have this sort of regulatory staring contest of secondary sanctions that could be imposed against European companies and now anti-blocking statutes that could be forced on U.S. and European companies for compliance with the same law. Essentially, it forces companies to pick which regime they're going to choose to violate, and that isn't really good for anyone in the industry.
So essentially, Dan, what we have is a U.S. sanctions regime, effectively a global sanctions regime, because there's nothing the Europeans can do to stop it impacting European businesses. What we also have is a U.S. policy, a plan B, so to speak, of maximum pressure on Iran at the moment. Can you have a program of global maximum pressure when your allies don't want to come with you?
Well, we're about to find out, I think. The rhetoric that came out of Secretary Pompeo yesterday of these being the strongest ever sanctions, I mean, let's remember that the sanctions up until the Iran deal was enacted were extremely significant and essentially cut off the Iranian economy from the global world. I don't know what more there is to sanction other than bringing back what was in place. I mean, the challenge that the world is going to face is whether or not the laws in the U.S. and the EU focus on certain types of blocking restrictions. The businesses don't want to be in the middle of this, and they have a significant fear, based on the historical track record of the U.S., of enforcing very significant penalties against foreign institutions.